9. Yizzo! All right, it's Monday. It's Monday. You are probably on your morning commute. You could possibly be at work. You could be listening to this completely out of order. Maybe it's not Monday. Lots of assumptions here. But we welcome you to part 2 of episode 186. And I think I'm going to stop this part 2 shit and just call it a new episode. So, anyway, here we are. Shanti, take us into the topic.
So, I have a wonderful book recommendation for all of you people out there. You do not have to be in a romantic relationship for this to be relevant to you. It's called Conscious Loving. It's the journey to co-commitment, a way to be fully together without giving up yourself. It's written by couple Gay Hendricks and his wife, Kathleen Hendricks. And so they are couples therapists, and they are a couple themselves. And through their years worth of work together and working with couples, they have created this really, really dope book around conscious loving and being a more awake person in all of your relationships and being co-committed in your relationships. So we've talked about codependency before in the past on the podcast. But I think the context in which we talked about it was, again, around romantic relationships. But what ends up happening is that in romantic relationships, our unresolved shit, our patterns that we have become undeniably apparent because you're in such like the assumed role is to be kind of like vulnerable. You're spending more time with this person. So kind of like your patterns come up quickly. But these same patterns can be found in pretty much all of your relationship. It's just not like your, for example, somebody's habit of withdrawing is only with their romantic partner. You probably are experiencing that same kind of like withdrawing, withholding in all of your relationships, in your work, in your friendship, in your parent-child relationships. So I thought we should bring this back. I've been reading it, and it's been really it's been really hard to read, actually, in a lot of ways, because again, once you know something, you can't unknow it. And the whole point of the book is to invite people into having more awakened relationships with themselves around their issues, their cycles, their toxic behavior, so that you can be in relationship with others. And they describe when you're in practice of doing that with another person, you're doing real co-creation with somebody, right? Like if you're going head to head around with both of your issues and you're not kind of like beating around it or addicted to the same pattern, there's new things that open up for you. And I thought we should talk about it. So I wanted to go over, we talked about it in the past. I don't know if I don't think there's like a dictionary definition. Every psychiatrist, whatever, clinical, I don't think there's a clinical definition, but their definition of codependency is codependence is an unconscious agreement between people to stay locked in unconscious patterns. Codependence is when your behavior is determined by someone else's, when others rely on you to maintain their destructive behaviors and addictions, and when you are not true to your own feelings. We end up fueling and kind of enabling another's toxic patterns rather than bringing space for change. Like if you're in a codependent relationship, it becomes like this addictive cycle that you guys go over and over, and that stunts, it actually stunts your evolution as a person and doesn't deepen the possibility of intimacy. And I think I know that that's something that I've been saying that I want, but when it comes to actually doing the work of it and looking at my own patterns and what my blocks are, it becomes wildly apparent. Like, girl, do you really want to do that? And so, because it's you and I friendship, and the podcast is on friendship, I think it would be good to talk about codependent friendships. Are we in relationships with folks, and there is this inequality in the relationship? And
what do you mean by that inequality?
So this is an example, and I took this example from you were mentioning another circumstance with some other folks, but an example of this inequality is you're in a friendship with somebody, you've known them for years, similar to how a romantic relationship works. You have your friend, you're getting to know them, you guys are kikiing, and then eventually you get into the meat and potatoes of relationship. You start seeing patterns that come up. You start seeing patterns that they have in their own lives of things that are coming up. And then you start seeing those patterns in your friendship that you have with them. So an example of a pattern could be you have a friend that takes up a lot of emotional space in victimhood, right? Like whenever you're relating with this person, something bad is happening to them. Their energy is always around like, oh, woe is me. And they're constantly kind of like in recovery. And if that kind of triggers your toxin pattern that you may have, if you're somebody that is an innate, like you're used to caring for other people. So then you kind of withhold your feelings about how, one, that's draining for you, and two, like, girl, you keep putting yourself in these situations, and then you become this person that's constantly like coming to their aid, overcompensating for your own time and your own needs in the relationship. And then the pattern continues, and there's never this moment where it's like, hey, I noticed this thing in you, it's perpetuating this thing in me, and like I want to do this thing where we heal, or not necessarily heal out, I'm over that word, but like let's start bringing attention to it and awareness to it, and can see what could possibly happen. I think the start of this is taking inventory of the patterns that you have in your relationships, and then kind of seeing how they show up in your friendships. I know for me, I was actually somebody from my past who's known me since I was in grade school hit me up, and she kind of hinted around my tendency to withdraw. And I was like kind of shocked that I was like, this is something that has been going on since grade school, this ghosting, this like energetic ghosting that I do of like withdrawing and going away. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so I think that's something that I've been noticing in myself in all of my relationships. But I think we all are kind of guilty of building our relationships on like trauma bonding. I know that for our group, at least for me, I came in later when a lot of shit was hitting the fan. I wasn't there for like the kiki and the sleepovers and all that stuff.
It was
But
still
I know
drama.
it was a lot of like stuff, heavy stuff going down. And it was like this pattern of like, oh girl, we're gonna be there for you, and like fuck this nigga, and like, finding intimacy and closeness in the trauma that we were all experiencing and trying to recover from and like figuring out. And then another thing that I think, a way that codependent relationships can be possibly built, not to say our relationships are codependent, but another way that it can be built is your friendships are built in escaping your personal hurts and issues. It's in, this is the person that I link up, so I know I'm going to party with them. This is the person I know I'm like going to drink with. This is the person that I'm like going to escape with. And you never, both of you never like do the work of working and talking out what your, what the things are. But to go back to, yeah, I think now I'm seeing my tendency to withdraw, and I'm reckoning and trying to be accountable with where that comes up. And I'm just wondering, one, what's your response to all that? Because I just did a whole lot of talking. But what say you, dear friend?
I mean, I definitely feel that some relationships are codependent. I hear that, and I think that a lot of people trauma bond because a lot of people have a hard time focusing on the positive, right? So it's easier to come together and go around the circle and talk about everything that's wrong. I see older women do it, and they go around the circle and talk about what's aching their body, and girl, this hurting me, and like, I just feel like that's something that people do. I would say that I have been in, or I've had 2, 3. I'm adding them up as I go. Wait, maybe 3, and one has shifted out of that because we've done some work with ourselves. But at least 3 codependent relationships. The first one was my mother. One relationship, intimate relationship. One was an intimate relationship that tried to turn into a friendship, and it just could not be. And then the most significant one is with my mother. And it's very difficult when you're in it to pinpoint it, because I feel, at least for me, I often want to show up for people, and I want to help, and I want to hold them down. I want to hold them, and I want to help, right? And care and love them. And I can't always see when I'm stuck on a merry-go-round, right? Where, especially when I know the person is struggling with something, the victim gets me, and I want to help them if I care about them, definitely. And I think, without saying their name, as this time, or not this time last year, but maybe a little bit before, there was someone in my life who struggled with mental health quite a bit. And he and I were friends. We had been intimate, and then we tried to be friends. And it just got to a point where I felt so drained and exhausted and tired. And I didn't feel like anything I was offering the person was helping. And I also didn't feel like they wanted to break any of the patterns. But I also knew that part of me answering them and being in their life was because I wanted to feel useful and sought after and loved. And so that was my, because codependency isn't just, right. It's like, those are my patterns too, right? Where, oh, well, this person's going to answer if I call them, and they're going to call me. and we're just going to go in this cycle, the circle. In terms of friendships, I don't know. Maybe there was a time when ours was. I'm not sure.
Well,
I think.
What do you think I mean by codependence? What do you think I mean by that?
Where I think where we're stuck in patterns,
Mm-hmm.
and you rely on the person to reinforce your pattern.
Mm-hmm. Or
And
you get entangled. You're entangled with them. It's an entanglement.
Yeah, and you reinforce their patterns.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a younger version of us, maybe, as we were first, not when we were first hanging out, but I think there was a pattern of like, what was me on my end when it came to men, when it came to relationships, when it came to all that stuff. And I don't know if that was a pattern or if you were just being a good person. I don't know what your pattern would have been, but I know I was stuck in that that place of being a victim at the hands of like people that I loved. Were you in a pattern with me?
I think I'm not out of my pattern. I think we definitely have a pattern, and I think I'm working to bring it to surface to definitely pinpoint it. But I think there is a resignation and a withdrawal that I can again connect to excitement. I can connect to I guess maybe it's connected. I don't know what the quote unquote goal thing is, but I can there's a through line in all of that I can definitely.
Can you be more specific about that for us?
Like feeling resignation feels like you're resigned to something. There's not like this resistance. There's not a push. There's not a pull. It's like, oh, you're resigned. Like the energy is like this.
You play your
versus
position.
Like this versus like this. You're not, So I definitely think that that's something that's coming up in all of my relationships, and I definitely feel it in our relationship as well.
Is it that you're resigned to playing a certain role?
Possibly.
Or you're resigned? Because I don't know what you're resigned in. I think that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, maybe it's playing a different role. Maybe it is. I think it is connected to knowing what I want and being able to like articulate that and like be clear and be strong in that. I think your energy is just more dominant, and I think that's something that I'm used to in general, just with the mom that I have, that feels like it's connected to childhood stuff. I think that there's a lot that I'm still learning to name, and I think that that's what the magic in a co-committed relationship is that like you start unraveling all of that with somebody that hopefully you can trust and who cares about you, so that you guys can kind of like look at the things and be like, oh, I've been doing this thing and it's connected to this thing. I've been doing this thing, it's connected to this thing. And that kind of like helps to make sense or helps to alleviate what can often happen in relationships, which is like projection or victimhood in the relationship, or it like helps make sense of it rather than going to using the same toolbox of who's right, who's wrong, you're responsible for fixing this thing, I'm responsible for fixing this thing, versus like, all right, let's look at this shit together and figure it out together and taking responsibility together. She goes, they go on
Well,
to kind
I'm
of,
sorry.
okay.
Real fast I want to respond to that. I think I understand more now, and I think that for me, a pattern that I have is when someone does resign, I you're right, I become very dominant, and then I just go. I probably I don't know if I leave a whole lot of space, but I'm just like, all right, this is what needs to happen, and I think that I don't I don't trust. I don't have a lot of trust in people. I actually talked about this today on something else. I don't remember which one though, but I know right now, as I no longer want to be a victim and I'm not interested in that. Now I realize that I've shifted into this, and I not shifted because I've been here, but I because I don't trust and because I'm full of anxiety and I'm an anxious kind of person that looks into the future quite a bit instead of the present. That's from trauma, right? That's from not feeling stable and feeling, not having good footing. I if I don't if I feel someone is resigned, then I also feel like I can't trust them to do whatever it is or to be whatever it is, and so I'm going to do it. And so it does it does reinforce your resignation of, okay, fine, you got it, you just bulldozed your way and here we are. And then me just being like, well, I can't trust you because you're resigned. And so there is that kind of pattern. And like codependency, people hear the word dependent and think like, oh, you're dependent on somebody, and it's not the dependency that we're used to. Like it's really just that
It's
kind of
fueling
cyclical,
it's
right?
fueling
You're
you
fueling
feed
the
each
pattern in the
other
other
the
person,
patterns rather than being committed to like, oh, because what ends up happening is, yeah, it creates resentment, it creates mistrust, it
right? Hmm.
creates these patterns come up. You call it the universe, whatever. You're constantly given these opportunities to correct. So you keep
Yeah,
getting these pings that come up in the relationship. You feel it in your body. You have the sensations. If you and I have a moment and you are triggered in a way, you feel it from your head to toe. It's not,
and you feel it on me.
and we feel it, like we
Yeah.
both feel it. But what they're saying is that though that's your choice point, right?
Hmm.
That's the point where if I'm feeling like if you say something or if you're doing something and my response, I have the choice to withhold or I have the choice to like step into a more honest place with you. If you're upset with me or something happens or you're feeling like, yo, I can't trust you, these things are falling through, the mundane occurrences happen, and then we have that minute moment where it's like, all right, I'm going to resign to the pattern, and I'm gonna be like, all right, I'm gonna do this myself, or I'm gonna be like, this is intense, I'm gonna back away. Or it's like you do that really hard, scary work of saying, hey, I'm uncomfortable right now, I feel as though, and then you practice that radical honesty to kind of like blow that pattern up into smithereens and then do the work of creating something completely new. It's a completely new pattern. It's a completely new way of being with a person. But that requires honesty. That requires the vulnerability, the fumbling, the misinterpretation, and the messy work of, like you said before, our instinct to be like, you ain't do that, to like, before you can get to that place of like calm and your nervous system is calm enough to like work the thing out, you probably are going to have to like blame. You're probably going to have to do the messy shit together before you can get to that co-creation spot. That if you are used to abuse, if you're used to people not showing up for you, if you're used to, if you're not in habit of doing that, that's possibly the scariest shit to ever do. If you've been taught since a young age, if you say your needs weren't met when you needed them, it's the scariest shit to tell somebody that you're close to, like, oh, this thing is happening. But it's also the point of possibility where you create new wiring that will permeate in all of your other relationships. So you're not like perpetuating this. To me, it feels like dishonesty. It feels like it doesn't feel authentic. You know, you have a possibility of like showing up authentically in yourself and doing it with somebody that you care about, which I don't know many friendships and relationships where that I didn't see it in my fucking family. I didn't see it. I don't always see it in friendships either. I feel like a lot of us revert back, or we withhold to like protect somebody's feelings, or like, you know, do the thing that we used to.
Can I ask you? So when it comes to patterns, right? The pattern is not caused by the relationship with the person. That person just, the relationship is something that, again, is perpetuating the pattern. It's enabling it.
It's bringing light to it. It's bringing light to it. Like if she gives examples, if you were abused as a child by men, or she gives an example of a man who was abandoned by his mom at a early age, and all the women in his life, his aunts, his grandmother, he lost women. They left, they died, they abandoned him. And then when he grew up, he couldn't keep close relationships with women. Women would just ghost, like they would leave him. Mm. And what that ends up doing, it's not it just brings light to the shadow stuff. It brings light to the stuff that you have to, when you are in close relationship or trying to be in close relationship with somebody, it's going to bring it up. And
but
bring
the stuff
light
is
to
already
it.
the stuff
there.
already existent.
Yeah, it's already there.
So then when you're in the codependent relationship, at the end of the day, the person, you two can acknowledge it. So what is the work to break the pattern? Because it's not the other person's job, right? The radical honesty is for them to be honest and really shine a light on it, right?
With each other, to be a witness to somebody else doing it, and to be like, oh, I do see this pattern in us, and then make the commitment to stop doing it without being tempted to do the easy stuff of like, I'm a victim, it's your fault. Rather than the blame game, which I think we are all tempted to do, versus being like, oh shit, this is deep. I'm seeing where your shit is coming from. Hopefully you see where my shit is coming from. And so the trigger is less, it becomes less personal in a way. It becomes less like volatile, you know, it's less like this person's doing this to me. It's like, no, this person's just playing out their shit, their narrative. You're a witness to it, and you have the possibility is there for both of you to awaken together and to hold each other accountable to stopping this pattern.
And that will translate in the pattern being stopped, and not just that relationship, but in their way of being in general.
So. Yeah, I think, because again, I don't think it's just that one person that's doing the thing. I know that it's not just you that happens with, you know, I think because I'm very close to you and we work closely, that's where it comes up the most. Like it don't come up with my cousin as often, but it's like, oh, the people that you fuck with is like, then the opportunity comes up to like, oh shit, what is this? What is this thing? And how do we help each other awaken to what our things are? Because it's inevitable. You get close to somebody, it's going to come up. It's inescapable. But if you're not doing the work of being honest with that person, then what are you doing with that person?
Well, that was my next question. Are there friendships where you're not that invested in the person and you allow the pattern to be what it is? That you're comfortable there.
Well, then it goes back to your time. What are you doing? Why are you
That
investing
part.
your time with inauthentic things? Like, if that's what you want to do, go ahead. But like, don't you want to feel, isn't aliveness somebody that you're doing this shit with? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But it's scary. I'm not at that. I ain't doing that shit with nobody. Fuck that.
Again, knowing the space between knowing and doing, miles apart. So let me ask you some more. So are there people in your, because with you, I feel like there are people in your life where you're like, yeah, they're cool. There's my people, but I'm not, it's fine. Like, we don't need to go into each other's patterns and shit, because this is not.
Of course. I mean,
My
but they're not
person.
people that I'm like
Say
in
it.
relationship with in a deep way.
Mm.
You know, I'm not in and I think that's fine. You can't. I mean, that'll be really draining if every dick. Are you
Every
being
person.
authentic with me? I feel like you're projecting your issues
Yeah.
with your father on me, mailman.
Ooh.
Like, that'll be exhausting. But
Not mailman.
I think that there's people. Yeah. And like, I think the scariest part, if the people that you're closest with, you're not doing that work with, or at least being honest about, what are you perpetuating? Like, what are you doing with yourself? Not just the person, like, but what care, and I guess that goes back to care, an idea of real care. What is this idea of care that we keep talking about? What is the self-care that we're doing?
I also think you have to know, like, there's some people who are not here for that shit. You
For
know, like,
sure.
I have people in my life that I care about very deeply, and I actually spend quite a bit of time with them. But I know, it's like,
Do you know?
what? Well, do you know what I was about to say?
My bad. I don't know that you know. If you brought it to their attention, maybe again, once you know something, if you say something, if you shine that light in that place, they're gonna be like, "What did you just say to me?"
I'm able to oftentimes meet people where they're at, and sometimes you can see what people have the capacity for and what they don't.
Yeah, I guess.
You know,
Yeah.
and you can so there
Yeah.
is space sometimes to love them. So that's what I'm saying is, like, there's levels to friendship. With your and my friendship, I feel like we can have these conversations about our patterns and our codependency. I think in other relationships that I've had or do have currently, I could love somebody down. I can see their patterns. I can see their patterns with me. And I also can know this person does not have the capacity just yet to make any changes or have this light shined on that pattern and our patterns. And so I have to be cognizant enough to know when it's happening and adjust myself within it. Because I don't think it's realistic to say that in many codependent relationships, first of all, most people are not even always aware. And then when someone does become aware, it does not mean that they're ready to do any of that work. And especially together with someone else.
For sure. For sure.
Right?
But I guess you have to decide what is at risk in what's at stake in your soul work. Like,
Right.
if it's, if you find that you're betraying yourself for this person, or you're withholding, if you're like, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. If it's something you
what's
can
at
brush
stake
off
for you?
Yeah, if it's something you could brush off. It's like, I actually just had a conversation with a girlfriend of mine who, after like years of me, what I'm learning, this is a new skill set that I'm trying to brush up on is knowing when somebody's ready. Because I used to bulldoze that and just be like, I see this, this is what's happening. And it came off as very pushy, very know-it-all. And it was never received well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And years later, this person is basically regurgitating everything that I've said to them in the past, but they're, for whatever reason, ready. And in that moment, I remember thinking like, yo, this is really what I said, and I was really happy, but I knew not to say it. I knew to just hear them and let them arrive where they're at. And I say that because I think now we're ready to do this work together. Because we're very similar. That's the problem with us. And she sees stuff in me. And so now we're ready to like take the relationship to the next level of honesty and closeness. But I would not have given up the relationship in the interim between those two points. You see what I'm saying? So I don't want people to walk away from this and think, oh, if I can't do this kind of work with someone, then that relationship isn't valuable. It's just like you said, you have to take an inventory of whether or not you can manage it. You can manage yourself, you can manage what's going on. Now, codependency in intimate relationships with somebody that you having sex with, and that's a whole, I feel like a whole.
I don't know because it's the same.
I feel like
thing.
it's
I don't know what the difference is. If you are withholding from your partner, you're withholding from your best
there's
friend.
no difference
and it's
there.
stemming from the same cause. What's the difference?
No, there's no difference there. I'm just talking about the level of, I think, closeness and being like intertwined.
Yeah, the stakes feel higher. Yeah,
the stakes feel so much higher.
Or it feels more it becomes far more apparent, much more quickly when you are intimate physically with somebody and in their space and spending time with them. Like, oh,
yeah.
You got some shit, and I got some shit.
Yeah, I would be curious to know like when you actually can pinpoint, because usually when you're in a codependent relationship, you don't realize it. You're on the merry-go-round. You're in the cycle, and you're just spinning, and you're living, and that's that.
This is what she said. This is what they say. It's called the choice point. In this stage, like you meet somebody. In this stage, the key choice occurs, which determines whether the relationship will become co-committed or will sink into the mire of codependence. We will call the good one choice A. Here's where you are. You have gotten close to another person, and now your problem issues are coming to surface. If you take choice A, you will inquire into the source of these issues, take full responsibility for them, and tell the full truth about them to your partner. You will learn to see and love the previously unloved parts of yourself that are emerging. With the liberated energy from seeing and communicating the truth of your patterns and feelings, you will ride to a newer, higher level of love and intimacy. That's choice A. So she gives an example of a woman who, on her first date with her husband, he had one too many drinks. And her immediate response to that was that it reminded her of her alcoholic father. And again, we all feel it. It's not like this big fucking, undeniable, it is undeniable, but it's not like this clear thing. It happens in a minute second. It happens really quick with somebody, where it's like, oh, this feeling feels really familiar. This like, she probably didn't sit there and be like, this is my father. She didn't make that connection right then, but there was a discomfort and something that she didn't feel was right in that moment with him, that she had the choice to be like, hey, do you like have a drinking pot? Like something about your drinking is making me feel uncomfortable. Is what's going on here, inquire further and like tell her truth in that moment. But she didn't. She ended up being with him for 20 years, fucked her shit up, cheated on her, and she never, until she went to therapy, did she really tap into that, where that first moment was where she decided to be like glazed over around what their issues were going to be. And I'll just speak for myself. I know in relationships with people, the issue or the thing that needs to be addressed comes up. You know where you can pinpoint it. You're not that dulled over in the relationship, I don't think, right? Like in your shit, you have your moments where you're like, this thing keeps coming up and it's not being addressed fully because either we're not diving in head deep and like really confronting it together, or I'm withholding how I really feel about it. I feel like there's always a choice there, and we always like are consciously or unconsciously making a choice, right?
Oh. I don't know, honestly. I don't. Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
I think Antoinette, you are a very feeling, perceptive person who is not afraid to share what you are feeling in people. Maybe when it comes to your intimate relationships, you will withhold. But I know you too well to not know that you walk around here like, what? You know, you're very like, oh, this thing keeps coming up. Pop, I feel this thing. Poop, what are we gonna do about this? Oh gosh, but you'll be like,
I'll be like, what? Finish your statement.
I feel like you could possibly be like, as we all do, I'm going to continue in this pattern and figure out a way to do it without confronting it head on in a way that requires carte blanche honesty. I think we all want to protect people. I think we care about people. I think we think that behaviors can change. I think we doubt our own intuition about stuff. Like maybe I'm tripping, maybe I'm anxious, maybe I'm this, maybe I'm that, versus being like, hey, I'm feeling this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it keeps coming up and I'm aware of it. Are you? What
if by the time you feel it? That's where my question is. It's like sometimes you're on the merry-go-round and you're in the pattern and you look up and it's years later and you're like, oh, am I in a pattern?
Mm-hmm. Then you
so
say
how
it,
do you
mention
prevent
it right then.
that?
I don't know if you prevent it. You can't. I don't know when you can say
corny.
when you wake up. But I think right when you feel it, you are responsible to say, I'm in a pattern and I don't like this anymore. I think our patterns have been going since our parents fucked us up. Since 96, nigga, our parents been going. Since 86.
Shit, my parents was going before they messed me up.
This is lifetimes. I'm on my first life cycle of this fucking shit.
All right, so what is our vow to one another?
I think we have to keep having conversations. I think there's things that we have to talk about that aren't on air. They're privy to.
Tired of talking to you, bitch.
The 75 people listening to this.
You better cut it out. It is not 75.
I think because I think that I don't think you say it one time. And I think we've been doing the job of it. I think we've been working at it. But unfortunately, I don't think it's just, one and done. It's like, this thing came up again. This thing is coming up. I don't appreciate it.
I got a question though. When you keep, that's the thing that I'm confused by, is that when you keep bringing it up, I guess you have to decide on your investment. You keep bringing it up. You keep bringing things up, right? Like you or me. And it continues. And it's like, well, I get to the point where I'm not bringing it up anymore. Obviously, this is what you're choosing or who you are, or obviously this is who I am or what I'm choosing. And at this point, I'm not going to not take it personal. At this point, I've made it clear. This is how you're choosing to to move, to exist, to show up. And here we are. That's just what it is. Sometimes, like, when do you accept people like for what they are versus, you know?
I don't know what excavate. Are you talking about us? Or are you talking about like the
I'm talking about in general. This is very general. This is, I mean, I've said stuff to my mother. You've said stuff to me. I've said stuff to you about, we had a mediator once, like, talk to us about very specific things. And I'm just saying, where is it when, is there ever a point where you love somebody so much that you're just like, I think about my mom too. This is who this person is. And you say, they do not have the capacity to change. The only thing that I can change is me and how I interact and respond with it. Like, my mother doesn't have the capacity.
I don't know.
She is the greatest person. I love her so much. But there are certain things she doesn't have the capacity to shift.
I'm not in practice of
What was
so
this
I don't know
podcast about?
I don't know what's on the other side. She's like, can I come on? I don't know. Tell you when I find out. I don't know.
Well, you didn't answer my question.
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that.
This feels like a pattern. I'm calling it out right now.
I don't have an answer to that. I do not know that. I
Maybe
guess
somebody else. Can y'all call and let us know what we do? Some older woman is listening to this like, shut the fuck up.
You know, them niggas ain't never gonna change. Them bitches ain't never gonna change. Get high, have fun, do you, boo. Enjoy yourself while you can.
No, but deadass, what is our commitment to each other, since this is about friendship? And since I think we both know what, we stated what our things are. And I think we both know more specifically what they are, what our patterns are. So what are we saying?
Sorry, Blue jetted out. She just got her snack bowl. Oh.
It's 12 o'clock, yeah. It's time for the snack.
Why am I hearing your voice in all of the areas of my
Can you please make a fucking commitment to me? You're retreating.
I think I am committed to continuing just co-creation with you. I don't know. I can't guarantee. I haven't done enough work on myself and been honest enough with myself quite yet. I think I'm just now exploring a lot of stuff. I think I'm committed to sharing that with you, and with the trust that you can like be a space to be a witness to that. And I trust that the more that I am honest with myself, the more I'm committed to seeing myself and the patterns that I agree to that are not for my highest good or for other people's good, that I will try to stop. And I won't, and I would hope and trust that you could bring them to me and kind of be a witness as well as a partner in unraveling all that stuff and creating new patterns, healthier patterns that don't feel like they are encouraging cowering or being small in either one of us. I just want to be brave and courageous with you, whatever that may mean. Whatever that may mean. I can't guarantee that that's at your comfort. I can't guarantee that that's at my comfort. I can't guarantee it's going to be a comfortable thing, but that's what the type of shit that I am saying I would like to do. When it comes time to it, I'm scared to do it. I think it's a very scary thing. I'm not in practice of it, but I would like to be in practice.
What's the best way to bring it to you? If that's what you're asking of me. But how?
I don't know. I think it's like a conversation that you have, or it's like,
I say to you, hey, I'm noticing this pattern.
I'm noticing this
Do
pattern.
I reassure you first? Hey, I know, da, 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 or I feel, da, 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 I know that this is not your intention. What is the
Yeah,
approach?
I'm seeing this thing. I think that's not your, if it's something that is triggering, if it's causing you to get entangled in it and it's causing you to go into, for you to spiral into your shadow stuff, I think your responsibility is to say, I don't know. I don't know the nice way to say it.
It
I don't
doesn't have
know.
to be nice. It's the most effective way that you
It's
would
just
could
the
hear
most
it.
honest thing. I think it's just honest. I think it's just the most honest thing to say. And that's scary because it can be hurtful. That's scary because it can blow shit up. Like I wonder how many conversations DeSeuss and Meryl didn't have.
Jesus. That was
I wonder
Why
how
you-
much codependency. I'm curious as to what unconscious agreements that they made and never what their shit was, what their patterns were. That shit just doesn't happen. It happens over a long time.
Actually,
And I don't want that to happen for us.
that's the first thing when I saw it that I swear I actually thought about us and was like, I would be heartbroken if the way around the way girls, if and when or whatever, when it dissolves or stops or moves on or evolves and we go off and do, if that happens, if that was the way that it would
I think
happen.
we're in complete control of that, though. And it's like not both of us. It's not like I'm going to do it when you do it or I'm going to wait to do it a nice way. I think it's just being honest. And I think, yeah, and trying to excavate that honesty. I think it's not, at least for me, it's something that I'm uncovering and figuring out. It's not something I can be like, here, this is this. I made a graph. This is the spreadsheet of all this stuff. It's like a fumbling that you have to do together with somebody.
I think my commitment, I hate it, to you is to, I think I get caught up in like, I don't have time for the fumble. We got shit to do. Honestly,
Well,
I'm being
that is
completely
one of
honest.
the biggest. That is to be honest, that is the biggest issue for me in relationship with you is that it makes me go, I cannot do that. That is not how I'm built at all. So
Yeah, I think that that's definitely something that we navigate where I'm like, wow, I just, again, time, I think I'm living in the future maybe, or I have very high expectations for us, for myself. And so, yeah, it's something that I don't even know where to start on how to shift. I'll be completely honest, how to shift that approach of like, okay, we know what it is. We know what we got to do. Let's do it. Go now.
I mean, like, this is getting longer, and again, I don't want to have this.
No, we're about to be
with
done.
you on the air.
No, we're not having a hard time.
get,
I'm not getting specific. I promise you, I'm not. I promise you, I'm not. I'm just telling you what I'm committed to is that, and I'm divulging something about myself, like the immediacy behind the things that I do is oftentimes you think like that productivity thing that I have in me is not just because I want to, I'm driven. It's because I'm scared shitless, and because it's also deeply rooted in that. It's deeply rooted in discipline, right? And being kind of bred for this type of approach, but it's also the other thing. So when there is that push, I think it's important for you to know what that's rooted in. And then when I don't feel the immediacy on the other end, I'm even more scared. terrified at that point.
If you're a therapist, please give us a call to walk us through a therapy session, because
No, but
y'all
I'm
heard it
serious.
here first.
My commitment to you is to do my best to, I guess, slow down, allow space, and to be honest, and to recognize when I'm moving from fear or from anxiety or from, and all the other buzzwords. And
White supremacy.
you know what?
Patriarchy. That shit, capitalism. Capitalism is probably the biggest thing, but yes.
You think I moved from a place of capitalism?
I think it's in our bone. I think everybody does. You are a liar if you don't.
Well, anyway, that's my commit. I don't know. I have to come up with a better commitment, but maybe. But yeah, bitch, I'll be honest. Better get ready.
Yes, you don't.
Because it's annoying.
Honesty is?
You'll get annoyed with me sometimes. Yes. If I'm like, hey, hi, hey, those texts.
Well, I don't know if that's you being honest or if you are moving from a place of this other energy that has nothing to do with us. I don't know. And I think that is something that I'm scared for in our relationship, is that our bond and our foundation is now fueled and dependent on this trajectory together that I don't have the same energy that you have about it. Like, I can't, and I'm not even explaining that correctly, but like, I don't want that to be my meat and potatoes with you, is like that, because that leaves no space for me, because that's not who I am. And it won't be good for either one of us. It's not like a co-creation. It's like me resigning to like, oh, in order for me to be close with Antoinette, I have to like be at this pace with her, because more than anything, I want to be close with her. So let me like speed up, because if I don't speed up, then that possibility of closeness is like not there.
Oh, you've never said that to me ever. You're having fucking breakthroughs. Also, it might be the end of the podcast from what I'm hearing. Fear. But I'm managing it. Woo! Radical honesty. Fear. She's ending the podcast. Oh my God, she doesn't
No,
want to
that's not what I'm saying.
I'm being crazy. I'm letting you know. We're going to work it out. Everything's fine. Okay, this episode's over.
Cliffhanger. Talk about it. That should be a season finale. Y'all can get back to us come October. The downloads will be crazy for that. Did you hear the last season of Around the Way Girls? What?
All 75 of them, right? Fuck out of here. All right, we're working it out. You see, this shit is annoying, and sometimes you go around in circles, and the other person doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about, vice versa. Then somehow you land on more fear. So, keep talking.
I won't be able to go to sleep now.
Girl, me neither. I'm done talking to y'all. So, Shanti, this was a great topic. Keep reading your book. Keep putting me on and helping me.
Listen, y'all, get this. I don't know. These white people, I know they have a good sex. That's all I know. They fucking.
All I know is just because they wrote it don't mean they practicing it. Again.
No, I feel like the way Gay and Kathleen wrote this motherfucking book. It is dense. And this is the Bible, a matter of fact. Y'all need to get on that.
Ciao.
All
right. Well, thank you for this. Everyone, this is what radical honesty looks like. I'm serious. And also just like sometimes you just, I don't know, just be out lost in the ocean and then you gotta find the shore. I feel like we found the shore.
I feel like we find the shore together. That's what it is. I
didn't
like
say we were
medium.
together.
I think there's a medium. And I always go to the polars. It's in or out. And I think
So
there's the
right now we're
meeting.
floating, holding hands.
Right.
Oh, okay.
We like 11 right now, nigga.
We in the
going to
we
our
in the
past
in
lives.
that
We going in the
tank.
future. It's baby
Or
Antoinette.
we're Rose and Jack, and one of us
No.
is about to die because only one person can get on that goddamn wooden board or door or whatever that was.
That was dumb. There was no reason why he didn't try harder on that. That was dumb.
It was going to sink, Shanti.
They could have tried harder.
They could have switched. I would have been like, all right,
your turn.
1 minute,
right?
1 minute. Right, we going in and out.
They didn't use their brain.
Anyway, all right. You're loved. We'll work it out. Maybe we'll be back next week if Shanti doesn't end the podcast. That'll be a running joke. All right, and with that, we are out. I'm so sorry that we recorded this at 9:30. This don't work this way. Can't be 9:30.
That's it being a longer episode too. But
we are be radically honest. Let's talk about it.
We might be getting juicier. It might actually somehow. It's giving full episode energy for both of them. So if we could just do it earlier,
was funny. We have to do it earlier. That's my fault because I was with Jade, and she's gonna ask you to co-host. I think next week.
What?
Do you want
to?
No, she's not. She said to me, she literally hit me and was like, does Shanti do like guest co-host stuff and instead of just being a guest? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh, I wanted to ask her, but I just know if like that was something that she would do, like would want to do. I was like, yeah, she's a podcaster. The fuck? She was like, oh, I'm going to call Shanti because I don't think he is going to be ready next week. She keeps saying she is, but that's crazy. She said,
what? Jade, listen. Listen to this, Jade. I would like to just go deeper.
First of all, you going to kiki more with her than me with my
Jade going to be like...
No, she's not. But I think the episode is called Kia's Cringing because it was me and her cutting up. She's like, this is not what Kia talks about.
Kia's cringing. Oh, that's cute.
All right, so Sheila, no more 9:30. That's dead. You're going to edit the audio? The good thing is it'll be easier because we stopped it this time. Stop. It was very easy to edit that audio. We just let's plan to talk about how, because we're winging it. I feel very strongly about the 2-episode thing. I think it's just going to help our engagement and also break it down so that people can actually take it all in. Because I'm telling you, people are missing the meat and potatoes. That girl even wrote and was like, yeah, I'll be finishing your episodes. And the end is like us. Like the pop culture shit is cute. And I'd actually like to get away from the pop culture. Today we just ran over like what was happening in pop culture. And we didn't have the evergreen question around it, and I think that's really important. I don't want to just regurgitate the Shade Room and shit like that. Like I want us to,
if it's going to be 2 episodes, it needs to have some reflection to it all.
Substantive. Yeah. So like if there's something happening, what are we asking ourselves about it? What are we commenting on? And we did that a little bit with the Jay-Z thing, but I don't want to just like, people can read this shit. They can read the headline. So let's be cognizant of that. But I also, and you don't have to do it. I can do it. It'll be like a half an hour with this girl. The woman from Planned Parenthood got back.
Oh, on Wednesday?
At 6:45 though. And that might be way too early for you, but it's just going to be 30 minutes. I'm just going to ask her very simple questions about, women's reproductive health.
For Patreon only?
No, I want to incorporate. I want that to be the main. It could be the main topic for the next episode. Does that make sense?
Oh, okay.
So we could just cut it in.
Oh, okay. So I think the Thursday recording makes sense too. Whatever that person said, that makes sense.
Record on Thursdays and then release Monday.
Record on Thursdays. Recording on Thursdays and editing
over the weekend.
Oh, child. You like
Hate
that?
it. I mean, or you edit Friday. Yeah, then it's Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Hated it. Record Wednesday, edit Thursday. Or I need to talk to Mandy too. I need to talk to Jay too. I want to know how much she pays for her editor. But that's a whole other, that messes up the flow because then she goes, okay, that segment's over. And then she puts a timestamp in and it just chops it up in a way that I'm like, I don't know. The editing of the audio isn't bad. If I can get this person in London and then you and I could do one each. But also, this is going to make us more money so we could pay to have an editor. It's a lot of variables. I think it's a lot of stuff to talk about that we can't talk about tonight. Right?
Yeah. Is this to talk about it? You gotta get this cat anyway. You coming here anyway, so whether we're recording or not, we can talk on Sundays. You come on Saturday or Sunday?
I was planning on coming Sunday in all honesty.
Okay. So either way, we'll talk about it all on Sunday. Create an agenda to talk about all the things on Sunday.
Okay.
And you want to hit those people up tomorrow?
Yeah. Do we have any guests? Possible other guests or no? It's fine if not.
No.
Then we
Where's
we don't.
Ariel? Where's she at? She in Philly? She's like, I live
She's
in.
from
She
Philly.
lives
I
in
don't know
like
if
Jamaica. She like cutting on coconut trees and shit.
Did you just
She
make
doing
that
her
up,
free
Shanti?
black. No, she doing her free black girl shit. Which one are you gonna pick?
What?
I feel like those cowrie ones.
You don't have
look
to
good
pick
on
one.
you.
Did you read the email? You can pick all of them if you want.
What?
Yes.
Oh my God.
You are so funny. Did you read it? You don't read. She said, please take a look at the Dropbox link to view the collection and let me know which pieces you'd like sent and what address best to ship to. You can be sent all the designs if you like. I just want to give the option to choose just in case there are preferences. Look at your face.
Damn, I really wanted the picture ones.
Oh, I know what you were talking about.
I really wanted
The ones where it's like the legacy.
Oh no.
With them white people on your ears?
No. No.
This is my grandma.
No. You got the Walmart people still in the photos? No, that's my grandmother. You still got the store pictures in them. That's my mother.
But also, for real, the episode doesn't need to be an hour and a half up top. I don't know how I just got back to that. Like, if it's too much, we can have the episodes be 45, 50 minutes each.
Can we? Like, have we ever done that?
The problem is, you know what it is? The problem is, it's not a problem. But when I look at the time stamps, our updates are a half an hour. Like, we ain't got that much shit
I don't
going
think
on in
we
our
should
lives.
cut off our updates. I would
No,
rather cut off the politics than what's going on with us. I think people really
I bet
enjoy
you
the
would
story.
want to cut off.
I don't mean the politics. I meant to say the pop culture, that stuff. I think people like the stories.
Oh yeah, I agree. But the pop culture, I think we can shoot. We don't have to talk about all that shit. And I do think if we do the pop culture in a different way, sometimes the pop culture topic can be the main topic. Like, we could have talked about the Jay-Z thing and talked about time and broken that out into the main thing with Evergreen. How do you spend your time? How do you see what I'm saying?
I think that we need to work on our production. I think that but it's hard with pop culture. I feel like we should have like 15 minutes to a half an hour where we're together mapping out what makes sense versus throwing it in there. You know what I mean? But it's
Like
hard with pop culture. Maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll be easier to map out stuff for the topics.
The main topic, do you mean?
Yeah, where we can really sit and be like,
We can use a pop culture reference for the main topic, is what I'm saying. Like that Jay-Z interview had gems in it.
but if we sat down, I don't know, I have to pee my pants. I'm gonna pee my pants.
All right, it's 12:30 in the morning. Can you do Wednesday or no? Do you want me to handle that? Because I can. I'm not gonna. I don't have a problem with that.
6:45.
Yeah. I asked them for a half an hour. It's
Can I let
not
you
that
know?
deep. Yeah,
I'll let you
that's
know.
fine. I'm gonna just tell them yes for now. I didn't want to say yes if you felt very strongly about being on that part.
I'm happy. I love
All
you.
right, girl. I love you
Bye.
too. Don't hang up. Just press
Don't
stop
hang.
and don't hang up. Let the thing upload. All right, bye.